could do a French language course, you could do a culinary program a la Julia Child. Hello and welcome back to the Americans in Paris channel. My name is Molly Sabrier, and today we are going to be talking about how to get a student visa for France in 6 easy steps. Before we jump right in, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been following along so far. At the time of recording, we are almost at 100 subscribers, and I know that number is small for some people, but it really does mean a lot to me and to my co-host Steven. And while we are on that topic, if you haven't yet already, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It's really helpful for us as we try to grow. So the student visa is actually the first visa I ever obtained for France, and the first time around I got it for my semester abroad. So it was very, very easy. I was being led, I had my hand held by my university. The second time I received a student visa, I did the entire process all on my own, and I actually did it to be able to stay in France to just learn French as a foreign language. So that brings me to one of my first points before we're gonna jump into the steps. Don't let the word student scare you, especially if you are no longer a teenager or in your 20s anymore. There are a ton of options when it comes to getting a student visa for France. You could do something similar to what I did, which is go back to school to learn French as a foreign language. I did an intensive French program. It was a year long at Nanterre University. I will add a little link to that video if you're interested in learning more about that. I talk all about it in one of my videos. I can't remember which one, but I will link to it. So you could do a French language course, you could do a culinary program a la Julia Child, you could do a legitimate degree, a graduate degree, you could do a master's degree, a PhD, you could simply go back to school to get a degree for fun, because the biggest upside of going to school in France, other than being able to apply for a student visa to live there legally, is the cost of school in France is so much less expensive than it is in the United States. So even if you don't necessarily need your master's degree, you don't necessarily need another undergraduate degree, maybe you choose a subject that you're very interested in that you felt you could never allow yourself to study in the United States because of the cost. In France, the cost is much, much, much lower. Okay, so now that we've gone over that, I want to briefly cover the 6 easy steps that you can take to apply for the student visa. Step 1 is to determine your program. Step 2 is to apply through this platform called Études en France and Campus France. Step 3 is to apply for the visa on a separate platform called France Visas. Step 4 is to make an appointment at your local French consulate, and that step has changed recently, so make sure to keep watching until I get to that step so I can tell you guys all about it. Step 5 is to go to your visa appointment. Step 6 is to receive your visa and pack your bags and leave for France. So let's get started. Step 1, determine your program. Now, as I've alluded to, you don't necessarily need to go back to a university or a college in order to get your student visa for France. A degree granting program like that is just one option. The second option would be a French language school. Now, the caveat with that is it must be an FLE accredited school, and the coursework must be between 25 and 30 hours per week in order for you to qualify for the student visa. And finally, another option would be a specialized school. So that would be like a culinary school, a photography school, a cinema school, that sort of thing. This is very important. You must be accepted into your program before you even apply for your visa. That is the most important piece of your dossier that you are going to be compiling in order to obtain this visa. As we've mentioned several times in other videos, this is very similar to the contract. If you want to become an au pair, that's the most important piece of your dossier. If you want the profession libérale, the freelancer visa, you need to come up with a business plan. And for the visitor visa, you need to make sure that you have enough money to support yourself. So obviously for the student visa, you need to be accepted into a program before you can apply. You need that acceptance letter. That is the most important part of your dossier. And something else to keep in mind, I know some of you might want to be extra prepared and start the process super early, but you actually can't apply for your student visa more than 3 months before your program starts. So start by finding your program. Once you find it, figure out your timeline from there, and then you can move on to the next step, which is step 2, apply on Études en France and Campus France. So something you'll notice as this video goes along, you're going to have to go from one platform to the other, and they're somehow connected, but they're also not really connected. It's a little bit of a clunky process, and to be honest with you, this very clunky process is kind of your first foray into the French bureaucracy that you're going to have to be prepared to encounter once you move to France. Okay, so once you've been accepted into your program, the first thing you want to do is make an account on Études en France. You can just follow the prompts on that website to create your account. They're going to be asking you a bunch of information about yourself, about the program that you got accepted to, about your plans for France, all of that good stuff. Now, luckily, Études en France and Campus France are connected, so once you create your account on Études en France and you go through all of the process and answer all of the questions that they ask you, you will then automatically be brought to start the process with Campus France. When you pay a fee, Campus France goes over your application, and then they will give you your first initial response if you can continue on in this visa application process. It's really hard to say how long these things take. Of course, you know, right before September, they're dealing with a lot of applications, so it takes a little bit longer. Same sort of thing at the beginning of the second semester that starts in January, but generally you can probably expect to wait about 3 weeks for a response. Next is step 3, which is actually applying for your visa on the website France Visas. And I'm going to include a link to an article with links to all of these platforms right in the description box so you guys can have access to that after you're done watching this video. So France Visas is the website that everyone uses once they're ready to actually apply for their visa for France. The student visa is a little bit more involved because you do have to do all those steps before you can even make it to France Visa. But once you're on France Visa, you'll know that you're actually applying for the real visa at this point. So once you create your account there, you do the same sort of thing as with the other platform. You fill out all of the information that they ask, you go through the entire process, and you might have to give them the same information that you already gave to Campus France. So just follow the prompts until you're brought to another place where you're going to have to pay a fee. And once that fee is paid, you will be ready to schedule your appointment at your local consulate. So this is where the application process has changed very recently as of early 2025. So the company that handled all of the appointments for French visas used to be VFS Global, but now it's run by a different provider, which is called TLS Contact. So I'm actually working on going through this process and making a video to show you all how to do all of that, because I have heard that it is a little bit different, so I do want to just make something that you all can follow along with that. But essentially, once you have applied for the actual visa via France Visas, you have to go to a different platform, and that is the TLS Contact, and they are the ones that make all the appointments for the 10 cities in the United States where there are French consulates. And once you're done making your appointment, you are ready to move on to step 5, which is to actually go to the appointment. So here is a list of the things that you'll be expected to have with you when you go to this appointment. Number 1 is your passport. Number 2 is the France Visas visa application form that you should be able to print out once you go through that process online. Your receipt of payment from France Visas. An ID photograph. Now, you need to make sure that this is an actual official ID or passport style photo. You can't just take a selfie on your phone and print that out and expect it to be approved. I used to go to either Walgreens pharmacy or CVS. They have a little photo booth machine where you can take said picture, and some French consulates also have that photo machine at the actual consulate. So if you don't have one at a pharmacy near you, I would encourage you to contact your consulate to see if you can do the actual photo the day of your appointment with them. You'll also need a confirmation letter from Campus France. You will need your acceptance letter from the school that you were accepted into. You'll also need your acceptance letter from Études en France. You will need proof of accommodations. You will also need proof of finances to show that you are able to support yourself financially while you are a student in France. This can be anything from a bank statement. It can be a signed letter from your parents saying that they are willing to support you. Basically, you just need to prove to France that you're not going to become a strain on the state financially once you get there. My biggest tip for you for any sort of visa appointment is to come over prepared. Come with way more information than you think they're going to ask, because you just never know. And the French authorities like to see that you are very prepared. You should be also ready to talk about why you want to come to France. Sometimes at these visa application appointments, all you'll do is sit there and watch the person in front of you go through all of your paperwork and you won't really talk too much. Other times they're going to ask you questions about why you want to go to France, if you've ever been there before, what your interest is in the country, what your connection is. You really just never know, so be ready to answer those questions if they ask you. And the last and final step, step 6, is to get your visa and prepare for your journey to France. So if you have everything you need in your dossier, most importantly, if you have that acceptance letter from the program and all of that documentation that you went through the entire Études en France, Campus France visas process, there really is no reason for you to get denied. The only reason you might be denied is if you don't have proof of funds. That's another big reason that you might get denied. Other than that, the student visa is very easy to obtain. I am lucky. I'm from the Northeast and I go to the Boston French consulate, which is generally pretty small. It's not very busy. I've never waited for more than 2 weeks for any visa that I've applied for when I was stateside. My student visa, the first time, I think it came within 5 days. The second time, I think it came within 7 or 10 business days. So you just never know. If you're at a bigger consulate, in Washington, D.C. or Los Angeles, it might take more time. If you're somewhere small like me, like Boston, it might take less time. But once you get your visa approved, you will have to go back to the consulate, because the first time you get a student visa, it will just be a sticker inside your passport. You won't get that actual card just yet. So you go back to the consulate, pick up your passport, and then you are ready to go. So I hope you enjoyed and got a lot out of this very high overview on how to apply for a student visa for France. As usual, thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Keep your eye out for that new video going over the new appointment service provider. Other than that, thanks again so much for watching, and as usual, see you soon and à bientôt!